Jake had always thought of himself as the chillest guy in the room, but when the barista gave him a defective cup for the third time, he slammed his hand on the counter and barked, "It's not that hard, learn to listen." With his ferocious eyes locked on her face, pale, blinking fast and fingers trembling, she muttered, "Sorry," and attempted a polite explanation in contrast to his barking tone. At the sound of his raised voice, the room stood still. The silence at the register was suffocating. His cool, easygoing mask had crumbled in 3 ugly seconds, and he wished he could vanish as the other customers stared in disbelief. But, truth be told, Jake's dilemma, that of having a weak inner bulwark or core when sudden testing situations of an emotional or spiritual nature occur, is more common than we care to admit. Most, if not all of us, whether spiritually inclined or not, have experienced a delay, a lag, or an outright disconnect between what we know spiritually and how we respond emotionally, mentally, or even physically when suddenly confronted with a crisis. Often we are caught unprepared and react in a less than ideal manner, leading to regret and shame. Deep down we know that this is not the way things should be, and we are absolutely correct. What if there is a secret blueprint that is simple, practical, and usable to everyone at every stage of development? One that helps prepare their spiritual nervous system to master these inevitable sudden shocks and tremors that daily life presents. In this video, I will teach you 5 things to help you understand this concept, and then build and apply this blueprint as a defense in every situation you feel the need to respond suddenly. They are: 1. Understanding the concept of the lag time between the event and your response. 2. Defining what an unshakable core is and its working dynamics. 3. Demonstrating, using 10 common life scenarios, how an unshakable core operates to quickly restore your inner and outer balance. 4. Tools to build an unshakable core. Don't worry, they are already within your reach. And 5. Why this is your best armor yet as you interface with and need to apply your spiritual knowledge and skills to the theater of real daily living. This 2-part video is packed full of life-changing knowledge, and I suggest, after watching, downloading it into your library for quick reference anytime you need to refresh on it. With that in mind, I invite our narrator Esther to assist us with the first 2 items on that list of 5, as well as begin the third, the countdown of the first 7 of these 10 scenarios.
Thank you, Solace. In seeking to understand the concept of lag time of response and integration, we must realize that the gap between acting from spiritual insight and acting from pre-wired, ego-based instinct isn't just empty talk. It is extensively studied and proven in neurobiology. Your limbic system, that fight, flight, or freeze response, activates faster than your prefrontal cortex, which is where conscious choice happens. So trauma patterns, fear memories, and ego defenses hijack your response before your soul gets a word in. The solution to this dilemma is a simple one. It's embodied integration, and here's essentially what it means. Until your ego, and thus your body, is wired to and controlled by soul wisdom, you'll keep losing your light faster than you can imagine during any and all trigger events. This embodiment journey is less about perfection and more about incrementally developing real-time, millisecond-speed access to your deepest truths, regardless of external chaos. It is the method by which an unshakable core is built. So, what is an unshakable core? Well, it's not a wall. It's actually a living, adaptable, flexible, but resilient inner alignment of armor consisting of a web of ready-to-use spiritual truths available to counter, diffuse, and impose mastery over any shocks or jolts the seeker encounters daily. This core exhibits 5 component attributes. 1. It doesn't collapse under criticism or chaos. 2. It can respond before reacting. 3. It feels pain but doesn't become it. 4. It keeps truth online as the top consideration, even when the nervous system is totally lit up. And 5. It's not controlled by the moment, but anchored in timelessness. For emphasis, one seeking to build an unshakable core isn't really seeking comfort. They're seeking equanimity, readiness, and ultimately the power to maintain their grace under fire. As is the promise of this channel, we're going to cut out the complex jargon and frills, keep it super simple, and now lead you straight to the practical aspect of things, so that you can actually see the blueprint of this core. At work, in 10 common life scenarios, 10 life situations that test your spiritual core, and how to respond from the soul. Few things sting more than public criticism, especially when it touches something close to your identity or values. The ego flares up immediately, whether through defensiveness or the ache of shame, seeking either vindication or escape. But this is precisely the space where sovereignty must be reclaimed. The very space where you should pause, ground yourself in your breath, and ask, what is the true cost of defending my image right now? Then, with awareness, discern whether the feedback contains any soul-relevant truth or simply reflects another person's projection. This is where choosing stillness over reaction reveals your power and teaches your nervous system that safety is internal, not social. Betrayal, especially by someone deeply trusted, can crack the internal foundation of your world and rattle your core. It tempts the heart to close and the mind to create hardened stories about love and safety. But while the pain is real, the truth remains: you are still whole. Non-attachment does not mean numbness. It means allowing the heartbreak without giving it authority over your future or identity. You can hold grief in one hand and spiritual clarity in the other, saying, "This has hurt me, but it does not define me." When the ego wants revenge, your soul can choose the higher liberation of peace and discernment. In other words, your soul can default to its unshakable core. Life often presents shortcuts that seem to promise relief, pleasure, or escape, even at the cost of your deepest integrity. At times like these, with no one watching, the ego rationalizes quickly. It whispers, "Just this once, everyone does it," or "Don't worry, no one will know." But while the weak-minded fail to see this attack on their inner being, the seeker with an unshakable core pauses, feeling the energy behind the temptation, and asks, "What kind of person will this decision make me become?" This split-second awareness gives room for the soul to step in and speak louder than carnal desire. At this point, you realize that every ethical compromise costs more than it promises and erodes your energetic frequency and spiritual momentum. You realize that choosing integrity may feel like a sacrifice, but it's actually the seed of sovereign self-respect. When conflict erupts, especially with someone close, the body's instinct is to win, withdraw, or wound. This assault on our core is very common, and many respond without awareness, only to end up in regret and shame. But as your higher mind knows, escalation often leads to undesirable outcomes, and silence leads to disconnection. A spiritually grounded seeker can instead focus on remaining rooted in the heart, even while speaking truth within conflicts. This means feeling your feet on the earth, softening your voice, and asking, "What do I really want to create here? Is it more misery or evolution for all concerned?" You recognize that being right isn't as important as being real, and that listening is not agreement, but an act of wisdom. By staying calm in conflict, you demonstrate the maturity your spiritual path was always meant to build. You make your core unshakable. Life doesn't always give you a warning before it turns your world upside down, before shaking your inner core. Whether it's loss, illness, or financial or emotional collapse. In keeping with old programming, the nervous system often reacts with despair or panic. In those first moments, you don't need to pretend to be okay. You need to remember who walks with you. Its name is divine stability. Even when vision is blurry and faith feels thin, your inner knowing can still whisper, "You are not abandoned." In that divinely inspired clarity, you breathe, surrender the need to control, and declare trust not in outcomes but in divine orchestration. This radical trust rewires you to endure without losing your center, a trait of all resilient mystics. You are thus wiring your unshakable core. Seeing someone else's light or abundance can unintentionally trigger the shadows of your own perceived inadequacy and suck energy from your core. The mind compares, then silently accuses, "Why not me?" But the path of awakening requires converting envy into inspiration, not self-abandonment. Your unshakable core reminds you to pause and affirm. Their path is their own, and their success does not take from mine. You bless their growth, then return to watering your own soul's garden. Over time, you realize that other people's light is just a mirror of what is awakening in you. Not a threat to your timeline, but a preview of your potential. This unshakable core will make you a mentor rather than a parasite. Indecision often masks a deeper fear, the fear of regret, failure, or the unknown. Under pressure, the ticking clock eats at your very core, threatening shame and upcoming embarrassment. Because the ego craves certainty before commitment, this leads to analysis paralysis. But the soul knows that truth is the option that feels expansive, even when it's uncertain or scary, for it concurs with the limitless nature of God. In these moments, don't ask what's safe, but what's true for me right now. You then choose what feels more alive, even if it's unfamiliar. An unshakable core doesn't demand perfect foresight. It trusts its inner compass even in the fog. Its blessed assurance is derived from a source that sees every conceivable angle of each situation, and so its final decision is absolutely reliable, even if it looks and feels inexplicable at that material time. That's it from me for now. In part 2, I will complete the rundown of the remaining 3 common scenarios, point you to the tools you already have with which to build an unshakable core, and show you clearly why this is your best move to a stable and fruitful life going forward. See you then.
Thank you, Esther. Dear viewer, I hope that some light bulbs are coming on within your being as to how these first 7 of 10 common instances may have caught your emotional and spiritual self unawares. How they possibly led you to act in ways you openly or secretly regretted, leaving you in some form of shame and helplessness. Over the next couple of days, undertake an honest self-appraisal and revisit these scenarios to identify where and how you lost guard, as well as jot down some resolutions on how you intend to rewire your future responses with conscious awareness. Make these your new defaults and build the foundations of your own unshakable core. Rest assured, we are in this together, walking hand in hand, and will surely come out victorious. Thanks for your time, and see you soon. Like and subscribe if you found value in this presentation, and keep on being the earthly ripple of divine love as you remain blessed and renewed on all levels.